Hello everyone. So we are back again after a long time with another video today, and I hope you all are doing well. So what we have today is what we will be doing is we will be looking at uh, a machine. So this is the machine source code 1, and what we will be doing is trying to solve this machine, and this is a source code review machine, which is like a white box penetration testing scenario that we have. And yeah, let's get started. So I have my Kali machine over here. So before we start the machine itself, let's have a look at the network settings. So here we have the whole network adapter to host only. Let's change it to NAT. This machine will take a few minutes to boot up. Until then, let me show you guys how did we get this machine. Actually, I was looking for some machines to practice source code review skills, and I found this machine on Vulnub. So yeah, this is the machine that we are doing today. I will also leave a link for this machine in the comments, so you guys can download it from there. Okay, now that our machine has started, the first step that we have is we will need to uh, discover what IP has the machine got. So for that we will be doing ARP scan on this network, as this machine is also in the same NAT network. Okay, so what I believe is this is the IP of that machine. Let's check it out. Yeah, looks like a Linux machine. Let's confirm the same in the browser. Let's start our proxy software, that is Burpsuit. So along with solving the machine, we will be also looking at in-depth and scenarios that might come up, and we will discuss about each and every step and what kind of methodology you should follow while trying to uh, do source code review activities. And now that the website is up, the first thing I would like to start with is brute forcing for directories. So for this we will be using the GoBuster utility. we'll need to update the IP here. It's 130. For word list, I am using the word list which is available in the Kali Linux itself, directory list 2.3 medium. And this extension that we have, that -x, is for adding the extension for all the directory names that are there in this file list. So I have added txt, html, js and zip. Also, as per the context of the application, if it is a PHP application or JSP application, you can add those uh, extensions over here as per the application information that you have. Alright, so this is the -t for threads, so we will keep it 100. If you have a really good network and also the server can handle a lot of requests, you can increase this value to speed up this process. As you see, we already have some hits over here. Let's try to see what all these pages are. Okay, here we have this page. Here I have put password as admin. Let's try to see if it works, but it does not work. Again, we did have profile page as well. So again, if you see, profile page also redirects to the login page itself. See, we follow the redirection, we get redirected to the login.php again. There we go. This is the login page itself. Do not have access. Okay. So here we also have robot.txt file. Let's check it out. It's the same login page that we already found. So now while this brute force is going on, to save some time, I had discovered this file called sourcecode.zip in the this brute force section itself. So here we have these file extensions, and with zip, source code is already there in the list, and along with this extension we discover that there is a file called sourcecode.zip in the application. Let's see if we can download it. It's taking some time to load, but it will give us a response, and upon which it will download the sourcecode.zip file that is there on the server. And as I had worked on this machine previously, I have already downloaded it in my PC. So here I have saved it in this folder. You see, this is the file that we get once we browse to that location. You see, we have just downloaded the file. It has been downloaded again. So I have unzipped the file, extracted the content of the file to the following folder. the src folder, and these are the files that we got. And once we have the files, we will be using Visual Studio to inspect the files. So in case you are using any other IDs like I don't know what, NetBeans or other paid IDs, I feel according to my experience, Visual Studio Code is a really great tool you can use for code review of almost all the languages. So now that we have the code itself, we can start looking at the code and try to understand how the application has been built and what all things are there. So in login, we did see the login page previously. Again, we did have a positive response that profile page exists. I think profile folder exists, not the page. Again, we have add item, destroy item, all this stuff going on here. So as of now, what we had seen was we have access to the login page. So let's try to understand if login page has been implemented properly, and is there any way that we can bypass the login on the login page itself. So some of the attacks that come to my mind during the login page scenario are like SQL injection or I don't know what, but we can have a look. So here we have include header.php, and once we put the credentials in the text box itself, here we have form action check login.php. So whatever the credentials that we enter in the page over here, they will be sent to check login.php. So that is the interesting page as of now, and let's have a look how the login is being checked. So here we have include connection.php. So mostly according to the name, what I have understanding is it will be the database PHP file which connects the application to the database. So it's in the include folder, connection.php, exactly as we speculated. This is the database. This is the database name. Here we have without a password, and here is the function that connects to the database, right? So again, we saw this is authenticated page. So here it checks if this variable is not set, it will redirect us to the login.php page. So most probably this variable is from the session variable that is set after we have authenticated to the application. And once we are authenticated, the value will be set to 1. But let's have a look again. Coming back to the check login.php page. So here we have some escaping mechanism in case we are trying some SQL injection payloads in the username itself. So here username is actually properly escaped for malicious inputs. That's what it feels like. But we can again, sometimes sometimes they will not implement these methods properly, or they will define these methods by themselves, making some mistakes, and it will be able to bypass them. But as of now, let's assume it works well, and let's try to understand overall what all these pages do. And first step before we start testing directly with each and every parameter, what we should try to do is we should try to get an understanding of the all pages and try to find some low hanging fruits. So if we are not able to find any low hanging fruits, then we will start looking at each and every uh, detail that we have discovered in the first step. First step being having a overall look at all the pages. Okay, so here we have MD5 of the password. So again, if we enter any payloads in password field, it will be useless because they will be converted to the MD5 sum, and it will be really pointless to use those payloads once it has been hashed. So here we have the MySQL query, which is taking the properly escaped username and the MD5 hashed password that we have submitted. So in this step, what it will do is it will check the number of rows in the result of this query. If there is even a single row, that means that the username and password that we have submit is correct. So here we have login. It's fetching some information about this variable, and if id level is equal to 1, it is setting some session variables, id, username. So username will be the one which we have submit, id level is equal to 1, status will be login, and it will set the following header of redirection. So location index.php. So if we are successfully authenticated to the application, it will redirect us to the index.php page. So if the id level is 2, so I think there are two possible values for id level, either it is 1 or 2. So if it is 2, again just the oh okay, so I believe id level 1 is if we are authenticated. If we are not authenticated, then if the check is not greater than 0, means it is equal to 0, means if the above query is not returning any results, so that means this scenario will be executed. Okay, actually no, so it is not the case. So looking at the curly braces right now, what we see is if id level is set for that username, if it is 1, this thing will happen, and if it is equal to 2, then this will be executed. So in this scenario, it will be redirecting to item/index.php, not user/index.php. So what I get an understanding again after reading the code properly is id level 1 is for some privileged user, which will show him that this page user/index.php, and id level 2 belongs to different level different privileges user, and which will redirect to this page. All right, so now that we know, again, if authentication, if id level is something different, it will show this message, and if altogether something different response is there, incorrect, and again it will redirect to the login.php page. So looking at this page right now, we can from our basic review, what we can say is it is properly working. But again, as we said, we will have a second look again if we don't find any low hanging fruits. So here we have do change password, do reset password, log out, reset password. Okay, so let's have a look at reset password. Let's have a look at the page also before we come to the code review. Password.php/login/. So this is it. Here we can try any random usernames like Jack maybe. Say username not found. So this vulnerability that we have here is username enumeration vulnerability. So what we can do is we can take a list of common usernames and just write a small Python script, or also we can use the intruder functionality that we have in Burpsuit over here and enumerate. But again, the first thing I tried here was admin itself, and clicking on submit, what it says is password link has been sent to your email. That means we have the correct username, and the password link also has been sent to the whatever email the admin has configured. So coming back to the code, what we see over here is, again, username is properly escaped. Here we have select star from user. So what it is doing is it is checking if our username exists in the users variable. So users variable is this, and I believe this is the table name, user table, and users is the array, and whatever username that we have submit here, if it is there in the array, then this code will execute. So this code being, it is using a generate token function to generate some random token stored in this variable. Then again update user, update the table, set token is equal to the above generated value, where username is equal to whatever username that we have submit. Then it will send an email to the username with the token. Yeah, so that's what happens here. So here we have the generate token function. So these are the characters that are used. So length of the characters is saved here. So this is whatever this length is. Initialized random string to null. So we have 15 characters of random string, and here what it does is it creates a random string of 15 characters, a return random string. So generate token will return a random string of 15 characters. So again, looking at the random function over here, it looks like it is properly implemented, and it is not possible to again recreate the same function in client side to generate the same random string that is being created on the server. And here we have function to send email. In this it will send the email and the token along with this text message in the email, hello whatever. Again, if you see the URL, we have http//. the hostname of the application, slash do reset password.php, and the token itself. So let's have a look at the do password.php page, because this is the page that is being sent the request once the token has been created. So what we understood right now is once we have clicked on the reset password and sent a proper username to do the reset password, it will create a token, insert that token in the database user table. In the token column, it will insert that token against the whatever username that we have uh, requested the reset password for, and also it will send an email to whatever email ID that has been configured. Then next we have is do reset password.php. So in this code, what we can see is star from user. Okay, so first thing it is assigning the token that we send in the URL to this variable. It is getting all from the users table and extracting the tokens in an array. So if okay, so it is retrieving the data from this variable, and again what it does over here is if it checks if the token that we have submitted is there in the tokens array itself. So tokens array contains all the tokens from the uh, token column from the users table. So here also it looks like they have properly implemented the token check. If the uh, if the token works correctly, then if result is there for the token that we have submit, means a positive result is there, then this code will be executed and we will be allowed to change the password. Otherwise, invalid password reset link. So looks like login and reset password functionality has been properly implemented, but we also have a lot of pages over here that we can look for. So looking at the profile, what we see is in is authenticated.php, as we previously saw in is authenticated. If the variable this variable is not equal to 1, then we are redirected to the login.php page, and this variable is being set from the session itself. You see this id level from the session is the sil variable that is being used in the is authenticated page. Okay, so what we can infer right now is authenticated page checks if the user is logged in. Okay, so for edit index and update, we can see that authentication is required. Let's try to find a page where authentication is not there. So for add page also we have authentication. Here also we have, again it's there, still there. All right, So here we have one more page, view item page, and what we see over here is the isAuthenticated.php page is not implemented here, and this looks like a page which we can access without providing any authentication. But before we access the page itself, let's try to see the code and try to understand what is happening over here. So here we have a check if from session, if ID level is not equal to 1, then it will redirect us to the login.php page. If the session is set and the ID level is not equal to 1, again we have here is MySQL realistic connection get ID. So it is accepting some parameter called ID in the get, means in the URL. And what we have here is it is running the query select star from item where ID is equal to some ID, the ID that we provide in the URL, and result is whatever data the query returns. So what we see over here in this line is if result for ID is positive, means if we have some response, successful response, it will give us a 404 page not found status code in the response. So what we can infer from this scenario is if we have a successful query, that means we will receive a 404 response code. Again, I think we checked all the remaining pages apart from this db.sql. So looking at this SQL file, here we have creating table item along with these columns. Again, these are the entries that are being entered into the item. Again, ID levels we have, one is for admin, two is for user. There is a one more table called level. Again, one more table called user. With these fields, ID, username, password, email, gender, ID level, and the token field. So token field is the token column is the one which interests us because it looks like this is the one that we will try to get data from the exact token, so we can exploit password reset uh, functionality that we have if we find any SQL injection. Okay, again here we have is the insert query, admin, the password hash, username, and again the same data for customer as well. Okay, so let's try to see the view item page itself. what's up with this page. So it was item slash view item.php. And it was accepting the ID parameter. Sure why the connection is a bit slow. It says unreachable host. Looks up. Let's try to ping it. Looks like we will have to reset the machine. Until the machine starts, let's have a look at the code again. So one thing that I am doubtful of is, like, let's say if we did not find the ID parameter here, or because we find something that we can access unauthenticated. So if we did not have anything as such finding as of now, what next step would be for me is I would look at implementation of this function, if it is a default function or is it a custom function that they have implemented over here, and try to see if I can find any loophole in the implementation that we can inject some SQL payloads along with the query that we are sending, because we did see in the login page, check login, we are able to send username. We have control over some of the parameters that are being used in the SQL query, and if we are able to inject any parameters, we will definitely be able to uh, do SQL injection and exploit the same to extract information from the database. Information that we're trying to target being the token column from the users table. And as we did in the step 1 itself, we did reset the admin password. So the token has been generated and inserted into the token field of the admin user. Okay, let's try to do the ARP scan again. Okay, looks like we received the same IP. Let's try to see. Okay, so as you can see, we have a response 404. That means we are successfully uh, executing the following query. So what I will try here right now is try to do some SQL injection and try to put some SQL payloads to see what's the behavior like. Putting a single quote, we see the 302 error. That means the query did not execute successfully. We did not have a positive result. We'll put and payload 1 is equal to 1. let's URL encode this. Let's have a look at the query again to see what kind of injection might be we should try. So it is using the ID as it is. It does not have any single quote. So what our single quote might be doing is adding a single quote in the query itself, entire query, and generating some error. So let's try to get rid of single quote and directly use the AND payload. And we can say that the AND payload works. Just to confirm, we will put and 1 is equal to 2, which should give us a false response. So if you see, we have a 302. So that means we do have a SQL injection here, and it is a blind Boolean based SQL injection. So before we move on to next step, so what I would suggest is you can always use SQL map and tools like that, but in many scenarios you will find that it is not possible to use SQL map because it will generate a lot of noise, or sometimes clients will ask you to not use these kind of automated tools altogether because they create a lot of unnecessary traffic, and it will be difficult for them to even filter out what all activity you have performed, because they will have a lot of data to work on again. And also, if you are able to manually exploit these kind of vulnerabilities, it is a really good thing as a knowledge perspective, as you will be having a very clear understanding about the vulnerabilities that are there, and also you will be able to provide very good mitigations and very precise mitigations and according to the code itself about how you can fix these vulnerabilities. Okay, so moving on, as we know, we have a blind based boolean. So next step, what I would do is I will try to create a small Python script to automate many of the tasks, like enumerating the database, enumerating the tables, enumerating the columns. But before we move on to that step, let's try to have a look at some payloads that we will use. We will be using a cheat sheet because it's humanly not possible to remember all payloads for every SQL or every database type, like SQL, NoSQL, MySQL, or MS SQL, again HSQL, tons of databases, tons of queries. So what we will be doing is we will try to use a cheat sheet for the particular database that is in the uh, works right now. And what I can understand from here is we are using a MySQL database, so we will be looking at MySQL blind Boolean cheat sheet. So during my research, what I found was there is a website, and it's called Perspective Risk. So this is the website itself. Again, they have a lot of payloads. Here we have union based, error based, and for each and everything they have properly uh, informed us about what are we using these payloads from, getting the database version, database names, table names, column names, data. So this is the exact sequence that we will be performing for any of the activity that we have. First we will try to find what is the database name, what is the database version, because version will depend upon what queries we will be using, the commands, the syntax. So the one we are using is blind boolean, also known as inferential. So this is the one. This was the payload that we used, and 1 is equal to 1 should return a different page, means false, and this is exactly what is happening in our scenario. So as of now, what we can try to do is we can get to retrieve the database, tables, columns, data, and also we can target any other database. But as of now, whatever query that we are running from the source code, what we saw is it is being run on the item table, which is in the user I think, which database is it? Let's check. Okay, okay, the database is the same, just the table is different. So it is the same database that is being used. So we have different tables: item table, level table, user table. So in our scenario, we don't have to worry about that because table is the same, sorry, database is the same. So coming back to the Python script that I have created. So this is the Python script that I had created while working on the machine itself. Again, this script you can find on my GitHub page itself. So here you can see a lot of payloads being commented out. And what I did was, even though having access to the source code itself, I tried to do SQL injection total in a blind way without, let's say if this was not a white box scenario and a black box scenario, but it was a black box and we only had access to this page, and how would we get to know like what database it is using and what kind of queries we can run, what are the table name, column name. So the commented code out here is the actual queries that I will try to use. So let's say here I have tables, so that means this is the query that I will be using in case I want to enumerate tables in a blind um, Boolean based SQL injection. Here we have what select table name from information schema.tables, where table schema is equal to whatever the name of the database. And after this part of the code will run. So here we have I in range 0 to 88. So actually 88 is not required. We will come to that in a while. So this is the actual payload for I in range 0 to 123. So 123. So these are the ordinal values of the strings. So what will happen is here we are using the substring and ASCII. So substring will select the substring, and ASCII will use the ordinal value of that substring. And here we have, after limit 1 is equal to 1, we will have the first character. So from this 0 to 88 first, again then it will be, query will be 1 comma 1 and string A. So whatever string, so actually what happens is in this URL we cannot concatenate string and integers. So that is why we have converted this integer to the string data type. So whatever like the value 0, 1, 2, 3 will be entered over here, and the request will be sent, and the status code of the request will be stored in this variable. So if the T, that is the response status code, is equal to 404, that means we have the correct response. So what I have done here is to print the character for which we are receiving correct response. So uh, in your scenario, means let's say if we are working on some different page or different scenario, there are a lot of things that you can change here. So sometimes what will happen is in blind case you will blind case or error case, whichever case, you will have to work on the response itself. So in response we have multiple options, like right now what we are doing is deciding using the status code itself, but we might have options like let me show you. From response objects, these are the things that we can extract. So we can extract things like content, cookies, elapsed time. So time-based injection, if there is a time-based injection, it will sleep for 5 seconds. So what we can do is we can put elapsed time from request to response if it is greater than 5, or like we can put it as 4. Like if it is greater than 4, that means we are successfully executed the payload and the data that we have are trying is the correct data. So in our case it will be the substring is the correct substring. If the response is given immediately, that means the character that we have tried is the wrong one. Again, we have headers. Sometimes the application will set proper headers like authorization header if we have successful query. Again, we are using the status code as of now. So status code can be 200, 404, whatever status code. In our case, 404 status code is for successful query, and 302 is the status code for unsuccessful query. Again, r.text, what it will do is it will save the response or whatever response and the body of the response in Unicode. And what you can try to do is you can try to check any variable in the r.text. If that variable or if that part of text exists in that r.text, we can infer that our query has been successfully executed. If not, if the phrase or if the keyword is not present in r.text, that means our query or whatever uh, query we have tried is returning a false statement. So as of now we will be using status code because that is our true and false indicator. So here if we are receiving 404, we will be extracting the character which, so this is actually the ordinal value. So for whatever ordinal value, a is the ordinal value, so this chr will convert that ordinal value into the character. So let us say if we receive here okay, let me show you again ordinal value to uh, so here these are the ordinal values. So let's say if we have 52 ordinal value, that means it is a 3 in ASCII. If it is let's say 83, that means it is a capital R. If it is something else like 101, it is a small case d. Okay, so uh, what this does is, so whatever successful value that works over here, let's say whatever like 54, 37, it will convert that value into the character itself. So whatever character that value responds, so if it is 54, it will respond with 5. If it is 59, it will respond with colon, which is highly unlikely. If it is 91, it will respond with Z, likewise. Okay, so we will be able to understand what is the exact character that is there. Okay, all right. So here also again let's have a look at the different queries that I had previously used for tables. For extracting the tables from that database, I had used select table name from information schema where table schema database. And again, if we find the first table name, we can change this value to find the second table name. First we can use 0 comma 1, then you can use 1 comma 1, then you can use 2 comma 1. Again, to find the columns, once we have the tables, we will select the table name from information schema dot tables where table schema is equal to we will use actually table name here, you know, table name is equal to, and here we will put whatever table name is there, whatever table name we have extracted from this query. Okay, let's say we have extracted the table name called user. So we will put user over here, and we will put uh, to get the first entry we will put 1 comma 1, sorry, 0 comma 1, then we will put 1 comma 1. Likewise for the column names. Okay, for extracting the column names, once we have the column names as well, so next step is extracting data from those column names. But is this a white box scenario? What we already have is we already have the table name and the column name and the database name, everything. So here we have table called user and the column called token. So that is why these efforts are not required in our case. But if let us say it was a black box scenario, then these steps would have been very critical and we would have to proceed stepwise. We had to get the tables, then we had to get the columns, and then extracting the data from those columns. So here, even though I have said db name, it will not be db name actually. Let's try to change it for just clean code. Token characters, let's say, because we are extracting the token. Okay, all right, looks good. Again, I have what habit I have here is sending all the data of the Python script through the proxies. I have set the burp suit proxy over here already, and what we can do is if we set the following options, we will be able to see the traffic of the Python script in the burp suit itself. So what happens is sometimes because Python script you are using, you are not able to see the traffic, and sometimes you will not receive a proper response, and it will be very difficult for you to understand why are we not receiving a proper response. So to understand exactly, sometimes we are missing a header, sometimes we are missing cookies, or sometimes there is some encoding in the URL. Let's say by mistake if you put a space over here, and you are not able to get proper response, so you will not have an understanding that why you are not able to get a proper response. So in that case, what you can try to do is to route all the traffic of this Python script through the burp suite itself, and in burp suite you will be able to view each and every request and response that you are seeing in the that you are sending in the script. So in that way you are able to properly debug the code of the script and understand what exactly is going wrong and why exactly is your Python script not working. So again, because we are working with the status code, what happens is it will follow redirections. So in our case we will not follow redirections because 302 is a false status code, and if we follow the redirection it will give us a 200. Okay, so what I have done here is allow redirects to false and proxies is equal to proxies, so that I have set the proxy over here and informed the request uh, here line code of line to send all the data to the server using the proxies that I have set. So now that we have a clear understanding of the code itself, let's try to exploit. Let's try to have a look at what code. Let's as we said, we are able to see all the code that is there, that is being run. So if you see here, this is the query that is run. If there is a 302, that means unsuccessful. Again, let's say what happens is sometimes if you are doing manually, you can also introduce a time delay in the Python script itself. After each and every request, you can put one more line of code so that it will uh, wait for like 3 seconds or 5 seconds appropriate time, so that the server does not block you out for sending so much of traffic, having such payloads, and many times firewalls will be there. You need to be aware of what situation is, and use your Python script accordingly. So again, coming back, uh, what you can do is sometimes you might have to do it manually. So what you can do is, like, instead of using equal to, you can do some guessing by using, let's say greater than 16. If it is giving true, that means the ordinal value is greater than 16. So what I will do is I will try to use 126 here. Let's see what happens. It means it is not greater than 126, maybe 120. Let us try again. Wrong value, 117. Yes, that's correct. Okay, 11, it is not, so that it means it is great equal to 118. So as you see, manually also we are able to understand that value of that token uh, is a character, substring character from that token is 118. Let us try to see what is 118 in the characters. So as you see, 118 is U, small case U. So coming back to our Python script, let's see what output that we have over here. Okay, so this is the string that we have extracted, and it is exactly 15 characters long. And let's try to see if we are able to reset the admin password with this token. Okay, uh, so we had login slash do reset password, token is equal to, what was the token? Okay, so looks like we have valid token and we can change the password. Let's try. I will put admin here and click on change password, and as you can see, we have successfully changed the password. Clicking on submit, we are able to log in to the application. So here in this scenario, what we did was successfully exploit SQL injection to find the password reset token, and after extracting the token itself, we have used it to change the password of the administrator user. And here we have the first flag. So next flag I think is related to the remote code execution, but for that we will have to go back to the code again to see is there any possible ways to get remote code execution. So if you see, this website is for, I think, purchasing some, it's a hack shop website, so it is purchasing some um, hacking products or hacking goodies, as you can see here. And I really have a good feeling about it will have the it will have some file upload functionality, because images we can see over here, and we are already the admin user, so we should have the said functionality access from add new item. As you see, we also have option to upload file. So coming to the code here, add item page. So it will send the data that we enter in that page to new item.php. So looking at the new item.php page here, we have these parameters: id, user, name, image name, description, price. So here we have some a variable called blacklisted exts. So I believe these are the blacklisted extensions that they want to define. We have PHP, PHTML, SHTML, CGI, PL, PHP 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Again, we have mime types, probably the acceptable mime types. We have JPG, PNG. They have just defined over here. So now if we are already authenticated and these variables are set, ID, user, name, image name, description, and price. So this is the following code that will execute. Looking at the code again. So it will convert the extension to lowercase, as we see in the code. So what it is doing here is it is extracting the extension and assigning it to this variable from the file name. Again, it is extracting the content type, mime type, from the request and assigning it to this variable. So if the extension that our file has been sent does not belong to the blacklisted extensions, means these are the extensions that we are not allowed to use. And if mime is the content type, if the mime is one of the following, then we are able to execute this part of the code. So if the blacklisted extension is not there, and if mime type is one of the three above, then these lines of code will be executed. So what these kind of lines of code are doing is, it is saving the file name, it is moving the uploaded file to the image folder, and then it is running this MySQL query to add the image name, user name, description, and price. So these variables that we are setting, these variables will be added into the item table. Okay, and once both of these queries have been successfully executed, then we receive a response that item has been added successfully. Okay, so only two things we need to see over here is mime type should be this and extension should not be this. So as per my previous experience, what I can have an understanding here is, one of the malicious extensions that they have missed over here is the PHP archive extension, known as .phar extension. And other than that, I believe it will be possible for us to execute code in this scenario. So coming back to the application. Let's try it out. Let's browse any normal image, and once we have intercepted that request, we will modify that request to uh, you know put our payload in it. Turn the proxy on. So as you see, extension we will modify to far. Also, if you want to really read about the far extension more, you can check any of the links in Google. But what I can tell you is we can execute code if we are able to upload these far extension files. Again, you see, let us not mess with the header of the file and the content type, because it is very possible that it will check the content header of the file as well. And now let us paste the PHP shell code. We will be using a one-liner code here to do this. So this is a one-liner PHP code. I will paste it over here and turn the intercept off. Let us see what happens. It says fail to add item. Okay, did fail it seems. Oh, let's try that again. So instead of adding the PHP code here, let's add it a one line below. Maybe it is possible that this is the header and our payload is messing with the header itself of the file. Let's add it over here. Let's see what happens. I will turn the intercept off. Again, it says fail to add, but let us see if it has added. Slash image slash all right. So looks like even if the it has failed to add the image, I believe what must have happened is this line of code must have successfully executed, but not this line. So that is why both the conditions are not being true and it is giving us a response failed to add item. But this condition has been performed successfully and it is true. This one might be false. That is why we are able to access the file, because this condition has been executed successfully. Let's try to send some command. Let's see what happens. As you can see, we are able to successfully execute the code. See, we are able to successfully execute commands. Okay, so I guess we are already able to run code on this machine. So that was it for us today, and we have successfully able to bypass the authentication as well as exploit the application to get code execution on the web server itself. And that really completes our machine for today. So all right guys, this will be it for today. If you have any feedback or any comments, you can leave it in the comment section below. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys soon in the next video. Bye bye. Have a nice day.